Hey everybody, today we're showing off a very tanky HotA build. It's very similar to the meta HotA build that you're used to. We just swap some points out of damage for more damage reduction, as well as some glyphs for more damage reduction heavy glyphs. And it allows you to push way higher in Nightmare dungeons, as well as you have a lot easier of a time in the first phase of Uber Lilith. We have yet to kill her with the builds, but I will post a full video of me getting to phase 2 with this build at the end of the video if you just want to skip straight to the end for that. I know a lot of people from my previous video were looking for that. I have yet to master phase 2, but anyways, you know, jump to the end. I'll do some commentary then. For now, let's go through the skills. Initially, you can take, you know, you're going to want Flay if you're pushing higher tier Nightmare dungeons. It allows you to proc vulnerable, as well as giving you a little bit more damage reduction. If you're just doing, you know, generic content, like world content, like Helltide, stuff like that, you can go Lunging Strike, just for the mobility. We're going Hammer of the Ancients into Furious Hammer of the Ancients. We're taking the 3 shouts. Again, this is a very meta build. The damage reduction we're talking about is, you know, additional max life. We have damage reduction against elites. Down here, Guttural Yell is crazy. We get 12% less damage from anybody who's affected by the shout. For our 6th skill, we're using Kick, and this is again used for pushing Nightmare or doing Lilith. It gives you 4 seconds of vulnerable, and you have 2 charges of it. If you don't want to use Kick, you can swap it to Charge, which gives you Unstoppable as well as vulnerable. If you want to be able to move enemies around a little bit more, you can go Steel Grasp, which gives you vulnerable. Or if you want an ult, you can go Call the Ancients or Wrath. You have various options for this 6th skill slot. For this one, we just did Kick. We are taking Aggressive Resistance. Anytime you have Berserking up, you have tons more damage reduction. We have Pit Fighter. Most of this is pretty straightforward. We have Counter-Offensive, Defensive Stance. And then we still are taking Heavy-Handed. This is the only offensive points we're putting in on the tree. When it comes to the Paragon Board, mine is not optimized for this build. And you're going to have an option for this first one, so let's start with the more common one, I think. You're going to want to run Wrath, Exploit, and then these are the 3 damage reduction glyphs. So you have Territorial for 10% damage reduction against close, you have Ire for 10% damage reduction while berserking, and then you have Undaunted for 10% damage reduction the more Fortify you have. The final one is Martial. And currently my setup here is not what it's going to be, so I'm going to link a D4 builds down below that you could take a look at. It will have a better optimized Paragon board. When it comes to this first one though, Wrath, you can kind of have a flex pick here. Depending on how much crit damage you have, I think Mortal Draw might actually be better. So that means you'd have to auto attack and then HotA auto attack HotA to get the benefit of this. But if the swapping bonus gives you 18% crit straight up, it's definitely worth it. I don't think that's how it works yet. I haven't done a lot of testing. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. But if it is, then 18% crit's just crazy. The flat 130% increased damage on the attack is almost like it's going to be competitive with the extra crit damage, I think. But either way, just use whatever you have. Like, there's no reason to you know, swap to Mortal Draw if you have a level 20 Wrath already set up. But that's going to do it. Again, thanks for anybody watching these videos. I'm just trying to put out content that I actually enjoy and I have a lot of fun with. So when I swapped all these points over and went to Lilith and started tanking the waves, I was just like freaking out. You know, it wasn't about me giving you guys like oh, this is going to be an easy fight button. For me, it was actually, I've got wrist injuries, so I was attempting that fight lately, and I was just getting sick of doing that shit. Any mistake or any bug, which happens frequently in Uber Lilith Phase 1, could lead to you dying, just getting hit by one of the waves. So this build allows me to do the fight, but if I'm in one of those situations, I just pop Challenging Shout and I don't die. I don't lose the attempt, and I can keep going. So again, thanks for the comments. You know, anything, you know, whatever. you can say whatever you guys want, but check out the video at the end. I'll do commentary over it, otherwise it'd be super dry. And yeah, sub, like, thanks. Catch you guys later. This is gonna be a long fight. I think it's about 5-6 minutes until I die. But it's going to be really similar to any other HotA Barb Uber Lilith attempts that you've seen. I do, in my opinion, still like decent damage. The most grueling part of the fight is part like 2 of this first phase, which I'll point out. First instance of us tanking a wave with Challenging Shout. Overall though, I think I've enjoyed progressing this Lilith fight a good amount. Certain parts of it made it unbearable to continue to progress. So that's why I kind of looked to change my build up and just give me a more consistent attempt. This is one of those situations, right? So this transition between part 1, part 2, I was getting really sick of just dying over and over again trying to kill these guys really quick. Now I have the option to just tank everything. It makes it a lot easier, in my opinion. You're still going to see me dodge every now and then. That's because I still have like the wave patterns ingrained in my head. Learning to do this fight while also being able to tank stuff has been a little bit of a challenge. Before I was just constantly spamming my shouts. Now I have to kind of hold Challenging Shout a little bit more. That means, we're losing out on some rage gen. But overall, there's not a lot more to it, right? Like it actually does just tank some of these waves. And I'm going to point out more towards, it's like part 3 of the fight, where it's the most important waves to tank, basically. These ones, I've gotten so good I can just kind of like walk around them with no evades. You still need a bit of movement speed, but they're not like too crazy. There are certain instances in this fight where she will bug out, and the waves will come at you when they shouldn't, or at like a different angle than they should be. Those are situations where normally I would lose the attempt, but now with this more tanky build I can just face tank it, so that's kind of the benefit of what we're doing here. This to me is the slowest part of the fight, my least favorite part of the fight, but once we get past this you're going to see the real power of face tanking some of these waves. Part 3, she flies up. She has new patterns in this phase. One of them is a triangle, another one is 3 lines, but she does this giant slam in the center, which you see here, and we tank it. So we, instead of having to dodge, instead of having to move anywhere, we can just stand in one spot and tank everything. This pattern we end up dodging because it came out fast enough. So there is still definitely a good amount of skill that you're going to need to have to do this fight, but once again you see we can face tank some of it, so not dying in one shot to these wave attacks is actually a dream if you're doing this fight a bunch, if you're trying to learn. I would recommend at least starting the fight with this build. If you want to, once you know it enough, swap off, you totally can. That's what I would suggest. If you feel like you need more damage, regardless, I would say start with a bit more tank just so you could see further into the fight before you have to restart. Phase 2, I'm probably going to let it ride. I'm not going to provide a ton of commentary. It's a really poor Phase 2 attempt. I haven't done it enough, and that's definitely what's going to stop me from killing Uber Lilith. The goal is maybe to get her down before Season 1. Because Season 1 is coming out so early, I don't know if we're going to get it done. This fight's tough. So the showcase is more meant to just show what is possible, not necessarily how good I am at this game, or if you can really make trivialize an Uber fight. There's probably not going to be fights in this game that you can trivialize moving forward. Obviously, we've seen some of these Necro builds and Mage builds like blow Lilith up. Barb had some of those builds early on as well, but they got patched. Yeah. Phase 2, it isn't straightforward at all. It's really complicated. I'm bad at it. You need to bait volatile blood positions. You need to be moving constantly. I currently don't have +4 evade on boots, so this part was a lot harder for me than I think it needed to be. There were things in this phase that I attempted to tank as well. We cannot tank that fire. If you have challenging chat up and you run into that fire, you will instantly die. We can tank these waves. I don't know what you call these little lines she shoots out here, but we cannot tank that slam right there at the end. And I think that is everything from this phase. We don't get to the fireballs yet, but I'm assuming similar to Ben, we could tank one fireball with challenging chat up, but I do not think we can tank multiple, so maybe one or two, I'm not sure. But overall, phase two is a mess. And I am not good enough at it to provide an Uber Lilith kill here, but hopefully this makes some people happy at least. You can kind of see that I'm not just out here trying to clickbait. I really did try to progress. This build was designed to make the first part of the fight easier, not trivialize the entire fight. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. We're gonna die here in a little bit. Again, thanks everybody for watching. Sub, like, catch you in the next one.